Marketing and branding are, while they're in the same universe, they are two distinct operational actions. So in marketing, it is the means and the channels that you go to sell your product or service. And branding is the way that you're managing that value around that service. And so there is what's called brand equity. So if you think about what I was just describing in terms of the restaurant and describing in terms of the bar, there is a brand that has to be managed. And if I'm responding to that poorly, then I have taken away from that value, which no matter how much you're selling, that means then if you balance it out in cost, what it costs me to sell to you, and now I've got the experience, there's negative because there's a negative outcome. So that means that I'm at a loss from a business standpoint. And for me, one of the things that a lot of marketers and CMOs measure is what's called that lifetime value. How long does someone stay with me and at what cost over time? And how do I measure that and understand that? And that's protecting my brand. Marketing is how I'm selling it. And I'll be more specific with that for clarity. It's, am I using more social channels to engage my audience? Because that's where they are. So I'm going to use social platforms. Or do I have more of a diverse mix in terms of that distribution of my marketing dollars, where it could be print, some of it could be social, some of it could be other digital formats in search engine optimization or search engine marketing, where you're using a lot of the platforms under those umbrella. But it depends on where your consumer is and how you want to reach them on that marketing side. On the branding side, it becomes very specific because you're putting your logo, your mark, and all the things that communicate a message about who your brand is in those channels. They could also be community outreach. It could also be what you give back in terms of what's called good corporate citizenship, meaning, hey, as a brand, I do this for the community, because that also is a similar form of selling, but it's also creating some value about your brand and who your brand is. So there are two distinct things, but they also have a relativity and correlate to each other because they have to be in balance. Otherwise, your ROI is not going to be fluid. You're going to cost yourself money. And so a lot of people don't realize, and that's a big mistake when you're having a small business, not having those defined brand standards for your organization, meaning how do I operate? Because if I'm not managing that, everything I did to try to bring someone in is at a loss. I just went through this with our company last year, where I just finally flipped over the table to some of my operational partners who we laugh about now a year later. I'm like, I told y'all about 20 times. They were saying, oh, let's create a new tagline, Daryl, and say we're exceptional. I'm like, we're not exceptional. Didn't I just tell y'all a report for the last 5-6 months that we are not managing leads? We have $550,000 of unmanaged leads. How is that exceptional? And so it clicked with everybody finally a couple months ago. I said, all right, let's step in. And I want Daryl now to help with us with the brand strategy moving forward around our operations. So even for us as an organization, we've had to mature to that, to understand, like, hey, I just can't be running around. We have standards, but we haven't taken to a brand management perspective in terms of our business operations. And that's why I see a lot of our small businesses failing to make that connection. Perfect question, Corey, on marketing is one thing. That's the investment to get someone, but then you've got to manage that brand.